We be live.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Secular Jihadists for Muslim Enlightenment. And this is our end of October. Our end of October show. The month is October. October 2021, the end of October show. And this is what we do. The end of it is we do a public live stream. And this is your chance to ask us anything you want to ask us about, except for things that might get us demonetized on Twitter. Fortunately, the list is very short. So, if anything like that comes up, we'll just let you know. But yeah, you can ask us whatever you want. So this is it. This is our Ask Us Anything episode. My name is Ali Rizvi, and with me is Armin Navabi. Armin, how are you?
Good. Music Guy is reminding everybody in the live chat to don't forget to like the stream. Guys, we're here. We're answering your questions, whether you're a patron or not. We're going to spend an hour and a half doing this. So you might as well spend half a second. That doesn't cost you anything at all, and it helps our channel. So go ahead and do it. I'm not even asking. I'm demanding. Just like the video. Make sure you feed the algorithm so that the channel grows a little bit. So thank you very much. Do it right now. Thank you. Okay.
If you look below the screen, there's going to be a little hand thing with a thumb sticking up. That's the like thing. And then you can also the
Thank
bell.
No,
not the bell. The subscribe button. So you gotta
Yes.
smash the subscribe button.
Yes. Ali.
Bang it,
Ali.
like whatever, and then
Okay.
That way you'll know when other videos like this come up, and we'll talk about this at the end. Anyway, yeah, can we do this? Let's do the questions.
Yeah, so we have Patreon questions. As always, we answer the Patreon questions first, and then we go to the live chat questions. Again, if you are not a patron, that's a good way to make sure your questions get answered, even if you're not here live with us. Some people can't make it live here. So by becoming a patron, you could send us your questions ahead of time, and then we have to answer. We're contractually obligated to answer your questions, even if they're not good questions. We would have to answer them here, okay?
And if you want to be a patron, you can go to patreon.com/SJME and become a patron for as little as $1 a month. And you'll get 5 free live streams with, watch them all on video and participate, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, let's go.
Okay, but this is a good question. D is asking.
Okay, so D Bedreau is asking, what is your take on the military coup in Sudan? They say that elections will be held in 2023, but this seems like just another power grab by the military over civilian government, as we have all seen in Myanmar. So, Armin?
Yeah, I mean, you're correct, though. And also, Sudan just seems like such a messy place to have a democracy. It just seems like Sudan seems to be allergic to democracy. It just keep trying, and it just not work. It doesn't work every time, and it's just Sudan has had one of the highest coups among number of coups in a country. I think Sudan is at least one of the top 5 in the world, right? So for people who don't know, the military just came and they just took over with the lamest excuse in the history of coups. So what happened? You guys know, al-Bashir was just recently removed by a previous coup in 2019, right? So this was just 2 years worth of trying democracy in Sudan, and people are like, "Yay, it's working!" And now 2021, we're like, "Oopsie, no, this is Sudan. Obviously not here. Obviously not with all this ethnic, a gazillion different ethnic groups fighting with each other. We can't have democracy here." Especially people were very optimistic with Sudan because of them joining the Abrahamic Accords, right? Ali, remember? And they were like, "Hey, we can be friends with Israel." And people were like, "Really? Sudan with Israel? Sudan with all that Islamism? Sudan with all that, sanctions and the T word that we can't say here on YouTube." Supporting, I mean, they had the guy. Sudan was home to bin Laden for a while, right? So that was
well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, that's why we can't say the T word. I mean,
and also Sudan is a great example. Sudan is a good example of how stupid United States sanction policies are, because it's just United States kept on adding sanctions to Sudan, and every time they made the right decision, the sanctions were not removed, right? And it's which is a kind of when they were like, "Hey, bin Laden, we don't want you here. The sanctions are crippling our economy." So they get rid of bin Laden, and he went to Afghanistan, and the sanctions just stayed. like, okay, so what's the point of U.S. sanctions if you don't reward, like, they're easy. United States sanctions are horrible because they're easy to add, but they're impossible to remove. And if you don't make them easy to remove, you're not giving motivation to countries to do the right thing after you add the sanctions, right? And Sudan was a great example of failure of, I mean, I'm not against sanctions, but U.S. sanctions seem to be a lot of times done very inefficiently, right? Anyways,
there's like everybody's removed funding, right? Like the World Bank and the U.S. and the I guess the Arab League or whatever. They've all removed their funding. They've stopped cut all aid to the Sudanese. Is that what's that gonna do? Isn't that gonna mess over the people?
No, it's looking to. I mean, it was looking to get a lot of that. All of that was supposed to start being undone because of the joining of the Abrahamic Accord and having better ties with Israel. Like that seemed to be like a starter of better economic ties and removal of sanctions for Sudan. That seemed like people were very optimistic. However, we have to be okay. So let's just understand. Ever since 2019, when al-Bashir was removed by a different coup in Sudan, and people thought like, yeah, we're gonna have democracy and constitution and all that good stuff, right? So we had a government that was a mix of a civilian government and a military government, and they were sharing powers. And they were like, for 2 years, the military is gonna take the lead, right, in Sudan, right, for 2 years, until when? Until November of 2021, right? So right about now, all right? And they were like, so it's very, if you think this is a coincidence that right when it was the civilian government's turn to all of a sudden lead, like, why is a coup just happening now? Is this just the military not wanting to give the power to the civilian government? If you think this is this seems too coincidental, you happen to be correct, because the excuse the military government has is that, there were some people in the street complaining about the civilian government. Obviously, the people don't want this here, so it's our responsibility to come and take over. But it was like just like the people that came and protested in the streets, they were there because the military told them to go there. Like, it was just like, hey, just a bunch of people coming into the street, and we're like, oh, look, you tie our hands. The people are unhappy. We have to come and we have to take power for another 2 years, and maybe we will have an election in 2023, inshallah, or whatever, right? So but the thing is that, okay, well, people are now in the streets a gazillion times more because you did a coup. Like, you did like a, I don't know, manipulative thing, and you got some of your goons to come to the street. Or, I mean, not okay, actually that's not unfair. Some of them were legit unhappy with the civilian government. But there's a lot of evidence to show, I mean, okay, I don't know. A lot of people are saying that the people that came originally in the street as an excuse for the military to do a takeover were actually doing, the military put them there, okay? But it's whether that's true or not, you could see that the people in the street now that are thinking that the democracy are being stolen from them is a lot more. Okay, and what did the military government did in the people that came and like, oh, we're unhappy with the civilian government. The military government like, oh, we are here listening to you. Shut everything down. We're in power now. But now the other group that are out, and the larger group that are out, that are unhappy that democracy is being stolen from them. What was the response to that? Like, are you going to listen to them now? You seem to be very responsive to people's demand when they come in the street. No, what we're going to do is we're going to cut down the internet. That's what they did. One, we're going to shut down the airport. That's what they did. Two, we're going to close all borders, all roads to the capital. That's what they did. Three, I'm going to shoot at people and kill at least 10 of them. Okay, so this whole acting like we respond to people's demand in the street is just only if that means we come into power. That's what it means. Okay, so it is a complete mess. The Sudanese people deserve better. They deserve better than they know, because there's a lot of Islamism in Sudan as well. But again, it's really, Ali, I don't know what you think about this, okay? Because this is an example of the international community favoring the non-democratic forces in a country. Again, like we go through this over and over and over and over again, okay? Because the civilian government and a lot of the people would not like ties with Israel, okay? Would not like that, okay? I mean, it seemed like at least the civilian government was not. I mean, they seemed to be pushed towards accepting that decision, but it wasn't their decision. It was the military government that was like, we need ties with Israel. We need to like cut these sections. So it's another example of like at least countries like United States and Israel favoring tyrants or like non-democratic choices because it works for them internationally. And I don't know, like, but also as people who are in favor of international relationship and we are against more Islamic forces within the populace, but at the same time we're against tyrants and dictators. Then we are mixing between like two bad choices. You know what I mean? Like again, and you see United States in the past, I don't know, 50 years or 100 years, you can see they have constant examples of choosing to side or support people that are not maybe the choice of the people, but it works for international relationships. Like, what do you think about this?
Well, I mean, it's always happened, right? I mean, I don't think it's right. But there is a situation where I remember, like in Saudi Arabia, I used to joke about this as a kid. It was like, everyone's like, well, why did they prop up the dictators and the monarchy in Saudi Arabia? Why did they have an election? And I knew that if they had an election in Saudi Arabia, especially at the time I was there, I knew that, it was going to be someone like bin Laden would get elected, right? It was, so those things are not in their interest. Kind of happened in Egypt too, right? I mean, so yeah, they go by national interest. They go by what's good in their national interest. I mean, this, like, it's been happening since forever, like with the Mossadegh case in Iran and everything as well. So it's
but it's just so amazing that it's still the same choices, the same pros and cons. It's just like keeps happening and happening again. The solution is a secular jihadist for a Muslim enlightenment. Okay, that is, you have to fix things from the ground up rather than the top down. You have to change the attitudes that people have. You cannot force this on top down on the people. Okay, so this is why you need to, and this is why you need to support this podcast. Link in the description, so you could get to a place where we could actually translate these shows. Because what we're gonna do, what we're doing is basically.
I want to say, I think it's an interesting time because this whole thing about democracy, you know how they said it's the least worst system there is. I mean, out of all, like, there's no perfect system, but democracy is like the least. It's the least imperfect. So, but there are a lot of problems with it. First of all, if you're in a democracy, people have to lie because you need people's votes. You have to lie. There's no way to be completely honest and please everybody all the time. You need a majority of the votes. You have to. You're susceptible to demagoguery, right? It's susceptible to so many different things. We've seen, like, these are some of the downsides of democracy, and you can have anti-democratic forces being elected through a democratic process. I mean, these things, there are risks to this stuff, and when that happens, those are really tough questions as to what to do in those situations.
All right, I'm just gonna address this very fast. Dee was asking that she left a question yesterday about Taiwan that isn't showing up on her side. Maybe you guys can see it. No, we can't see it. This is, I mean, if you see it, if you post a question and you can't see it, maybe post it again. I don't know. You're saying if this happens often, Dee, this only happens to you. Nobody else has this problem. But can you like make sure that you save the question, and then if you don't see it, you post it again?
We sometimes I don't know if this is the issue, but on the Patreon page, we usually have 2 posts for each. Like, we'll say one will be announcements of
she posted this. She posted this before we had the second one, so it wasn't that issue.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Okay, hold on. Let me bring up the next. Sorry about that, D. Son. It's not our fault. It's Patreon. All right, here's
I think it's Jackknife, right?
No, it's Hyde.
It's Hyde. Okay, let's put it on. Okay, so this is the question. Says a Greek friend died recently. He was a moderately religious man. As he approached death, he confessed, "We should have stayed with the Greek gods rather than monotheism." I'm curious as to how the pre-Islam myths are part of your households. Do your grandmothers tell you the ancient stories as mine did? Are museums full of ancient statues and texts? Oh, do you mean like in the Muslim world, the places we grew up?
Yeah, would no. I mean,
No.
wait, yes, yeah. I mean, no, and yeah, well, yes. I mean, I'm from
Armin.
Iran,
Yeah.
but this is so depends on what you mean by pre-Islam. Okay, so if you mean by pre-Islam, pre-Islamic stuff in Iran, then yes, it definitely so much. Like people in Iran are obsessed with pre-Islamic religions. Okay, but the reason why I said no is because I was just imagining the pre-Islamic religions in Arabia for some reason. I was thinking about that, and therefore, no, there's a lot of ignorance about what was happening in Arabia before Islam. Most people just accept the Islamic narrative on that. So that's why I was trying to say no. But then I realized that you were talking about just our background and our experience. And Iranian people are obsessed with their pre-Islamic religion and pre-Islamic culture and pre-Islamic history. I mean, I shouldn't talk so generally, I shouldn't say Iranian people, many Iranian people. But yes, they are obsessed with it. And they actually sometimes use it as a counter movement against Islamism and what they call an Arabization of their glorious Persian Zoroastrian empire, and they see it as a fight back against them being taken over by a foreign culture that they think they deserve better, and it comes with a lot of racism, unfortunately, and a lot of ethnic supremacy and thinking that Islam is for an inferior group of people, and they think like as Persians they consider themselves to be of a superior race, and therefore deserving of a better religion and a better culture, which they deem to be Zoroastrianism.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I'm saying it's kind of interesting because Iran does have that rich pre-Islamic history that many people feel was disrupted by the Islamic influence and all that. So that's kind of interesting. In Pakistan and in Saudi Arabia, obviously, we never talked about pre-Islamic stuff because in Pakistan, all the pre-Islamic stuff was Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, things like that. I mean, there's all idolatry. So Pakistan is so religious that they don't really care about that pre-Islamic. They consider the Islamic thing their own identity. They complain about all of this imperialism from the West, even though all their greetings are in Arabic, their holy book is in Arabic. They pray to Mecca. They face Mecca when they pray. Their prophet's Arab. Everything. But like they're somehow blind to the fact that that's also a kind of colonialism and imperialism. The Saudi Arabia, same thing. But I would be interested to know, because this is a great question for places like, for example, Egypt. So Egypt is the most populous Arab country in the world, right? And one of the largest Muslim countries in the world too. And so I'm curious to see whether they have, they talk about, they certainly have the pyramids. They have a lot of, a history there if you go to Egypt, but I'm curious to see how
I want to be clear. I don't endorse this idea that these pre-Islamic religions and cultures were somehow richer than Islamic ones. Okay, the only difference is that we're suffering one of them and we're not the other, right? Like I'm pretty sure if Zoroastrianism was the religion of Iran right now, we would be dealing with a lot of nonsense and Zoroastrian oppression, and that the priests from temples like endorsing wife beating, which you can see in Zoroastrian texts, and a whole bunch of other nonsense. I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't be as bad as Islam, but Islamic, the Islamic culture and the art and the history. I mean, the richness of they're all rich, okay, but they're all okay. So the ritual and the culture and the art, they all are rich, okay. The belief, they're all nonsense. Is Islam more harmful and violent? Yes, for sure. But I don't want people to think like the competition is which one is richer, okay? Because if it comes to richness of culture and art and customs and rituals, they all have that, okay? So I don't think that's you should be like this desire to go back to the past is nonsensical, right? I think like a lot of people have that, and I think you should just go forward. You don't want to go from one superstitious belief to another superstitious. I mean, again, and if we can like mature out of Islam, if you look back at Islamic history and culture, it would be as enjoyable as what looking back at Zoroastrian history and culture, because you're not suffering under it anymore. So it would be just as rich and beautiful to look at it, because once you're not being oppressed by it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of these mythological religions, like now they're all religions of today are the mythologies of for the future, and same thing for the past. But like they had human sacrifices, that all kinds of crazy shit that they did too. It's not like
so.
I agree.
Zoroastrian, yeah. I mean, okay, yeah, you're right. I mean, Zoroastrianism didn't have human sacrifices, but even the ones that did, we can enjoy them, right? Like the Mayans.
I'm just giving an example. Hinduism is a pre-Islamic religion, and they had the caste system. They had sati, where the wife, the widow dies along with the husband, things like that. They had all kinds of. They've all had crazy shit like throughout.
And also, one thing you mentioned that is kind of interesting. Yes, in Pakistan, people don't talk about the fact that they used to be Hindus, right?
Yeah.
But in India, the Hindus do remind the Muslims that you used to be. I mean, when they say you, is because they're collectivists and they're talking about the people today as if they are their ancestors. So that doesn't make sense. But they do tell Muslims in India and in Pakistan that come back to Hinduism. You're originally Hindu. So the Hindus do remind them of that.
But what's interesting, and I guess that's the last thing I'll say because this is really fascinating to me. But in the Hindu caste system was actually responsible for a lot of the conversions to Islam, because the caste system was, you had all of these nobles who were poets and everything of the high caste, like the Brahmins, and then they were just doing their thing. And then two things happened. First of all, there's the Islamic conquering of India, where suddenly all of the untouchables and the people in the lower caste, the Muslim invaders said, hey, now you're equal to everybody else. And that's a very powerful and appealing thing to them. And then the British, when the British came in, they gave them jobs, and some of the stuff that the people in some of the lower castes did, like, the labor, industrial work and everything, that suddenly became a status thing. It became well paid. So that also kind of equalized it. So they, you would have had a pretty terrible system either way.
Well, actually, can I add something to that before we move on? As I saw some Hindu, I don't know, whatever, priest or politicians, I forgot, to actually point to what you just pointed out about the fact that Hinduism's caste system encouraged a lot of conversions to Islam, because then it was an equalizer of the lower caste, right? And they tried to put a Hindu spin on this reality by saying that this proves karma. Like this is the concept of karma. They were, instead of looking at karma in an individual, they were looking at karma by looking at India as an individual, and saying that Hindus' mistreatment of the Dalit is being the Islam taking, Islam. People converting to Islam, and India paying a cost because people are converting to Islam, and Muslims, this is karma. This is what India is paying for this mistreatment of the Dalit. And they're saying that this is justified, but it's kind of, I don't want anybody to endorse this view, because it's kind of looking at Muslims as a whole as if they're a curse or something, right? But I mean, the people as a curse as well. But it's very interesting, because is that even when it comes to criticizing Hinduism, they were putting a Hindu spin on it, but confirming Hinduism and saying this is karma, this is what's coming back to India because of the way that they treated the Dalits. And now India is paying. The same people that were mistreated are coming back and making India pay the price in the form of Muslims. And I found that very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So next Patreon question by Music Guy.
These Patreon questions came before the stream?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So Music Guy is saying, why is Iran directly choosing to attack U.S. soldiers via drone in Syria? Usually Iran-backed militias attack these bases. Will this become more common as Iran has been showing it's more military? Keep going. Is there another part to this?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. military capable?
Military capability like Israel?
Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna answer the last part first. Not even close. Okay, Iran has been showing it's more military capable, but not even remotely close to Israel. That's why Iran has tried to master the art of asymmetrical warfare. They're very good at fighting the asymmetrical warfare, but the reason why you have to master the art of asymmetrical warfare is because your military is not as good. You're not going to be able to go to head to head. If you're talking about military capability, Iran's strength is that it's a much bigger country with a lot more people in its military. Okay, so that's the reason why it's bigger. But if it comes to efficiency and the technology that Iran's military has, is like light years behind whatever Israel has access to. Okay, so it's not even remotely close, and it will never become that close to Israel. Okay, but again, that doesn't mean that they're not going to be that they're not a major force that could cause a lot of headache. Of course they can. It's a force to be reckoned with, but not because the technology or their military capabilities are as close to Israel. So that was the second question. So when you're saying why did they choose to directly attack U.S. soldiers, usually Iran-backed militias attack these bases? Okay, let's be clear. No soldiers died. Okay, if they had died, this would become. A lot of people are saying why there's not a response by Biden. Well, because recently Biden had some major attack responses when Iran did something like that. But I think in those other ones, there was somebody who died. Like right now, nobody died, right? Also, let's be clear. When we say Iran directly choosing to attack U.S. soldiers via drones in Syria, these recent attacks, I don't know what you mean by directly, because these were done by Iranian proxies. None of these are ever done by Iran's forces itself. Okay, so it's not as direct as you're saying. However, the drone attacks were extremely more advanced than previous drone attacks. Okay, again, this seems like a contradiction. They are very, very advanced. Like people were surprised about how attacked these drone attacks were, but surprised relative to what we thought Iran's military or Iranian proxies were capable of. Obviously, if this was like an Israeli attack, it would be even more advanced. But these were very sophisticated, advanced attacks, and I think it was supposed to be there to demonstrate how much more advanced Iran's drone attacks have gotten. I think it was a mix of 5 drones coordinating with each other. It was pretty sophisticated. Okay, again, nothing like Israel has access to, but pretty advanced. And yeah. Why? It's weird. I don't know who's in charge when it comes to these decisions. It seems to be different forces in Iran not agreeing with each other. I don't know how. Okay, so on the face of it, it seems like a really bad idea, right? Right now, Iran is just going back to the nuclear talks, right? In Vienna, another date has been set. It seems like this is. Some people are saying that this is basically okay. There are many theories. Okay, some people are saying this will make those deals that more difficult to do. And right now, it's those deals. You know how I said, Ali, that I don't know how they're going to pass. How both Iran's government and U.S. have some red lines, and it seems like no side is going to be budging in. And that was a couple of months ago when they said like, "Oh, we're going to have an agreement next week," and I said, "I don't think so." I was right? Like we're like so many months out. After those promises that next week or 2 weeks from now we're going to have an agreement, and we still don't have an agreement because I couldn't see how you could these red lines. There were red lines that neither side was going to budge. So and now it looks it looks very shady. Okay, and it seems like both sides they're desperate sides on both sides to make this happen. And also they're desperate sides on both sides to make sure that this doesn't happen. Okay, and so these attacks will make this. Some people are saying it's going to making that deal more difficult. And if that is true, it might be because there are certain forces within Iran that are trying to make that deal more difficult to happen. But some people are saying like, no, these attacks are supposed to show that look how capable we are. You need our cooperation. We can't just play this dance forever. Iran is not a player that you can ignore in the Middle East. you need to get us on the good side. You need to do this deal, right? So it's either your philosophy could be these attacks are going to make the deal more difficult. And if that's the case, the Iranian forces are trying to, there are some Iranian forces behind the scene that are trying to make sure the deal doesn't go through against the wishes of Iranian forces that want the deal to go through. Or you think like, no, this will convince the United States and Europe that Iran is way too capable to stir crap up in the Middle East. And at some point we have to accept that. And we have to do a deal with them because we can't confront them all the time. So
Okay.
you pick which one it is. I don't know.
Cool.
Do you want to add anything to that?
No, let's go on. Like we're already half an hour in, so let's get to some of these other ones.
Okay, there's 2 more Patreon questions, and then we're going to go to the live chat questions. Okay, we promise we're going to go to the live chat questions. Okay.
So let's do these ones really, really quickly, please. Where are they?
Okay, I'll try. Here's the next one.
So music guys saying, what are your thoughts on the Iranian gas station cyber attack? Also, Abedin Khurram getting slapped on stage. Who got? I don't know who this person is. Armin, you know?
So yes.
Can you sum this up really quickly?
Okay,
lots of live chat people and only
All right. Okay, so the cyber attacks on the gas stations. People still don't know who has done this. By the time this video is clipped and is out, you might have a lot more information about it than we do right now. There are a lot of people are saying that it's an outside factor. So for people who don't know, there was a cyber attacks on Iranian gas stations, and apparently all the gas stations all over the country are now dysfunctional, and people can't fuel up their their cars. And there's lines of, and actually now they can because they are doing it manually instead of electronically. But their cards that has the subsidy, like they can't use their cars to get the fuel. So the fuel prices are subsidized in Iran, right? So because they're doing it manually, it's happening very slowly, and people are waiting for hours and hours and hours to get their fuel. And even when they get to the gas station, they have to actually pay the full price, not the subsidized price, which is extremely higher, and people can't afford it. So it's a goddamn mess. And people are trying to figure out who has done the cyber attack, because it was a very, very advanced cyber attack. And some people are saying it was done internally, and some people are saying it's done externally. The people are saying that it's externally. They're saying this was such an advanced attack that nobody internally, no opposition group internally would have had the capabilities of carrying it out, especially because the gas stations are not hooked to online. They're not connected to the internet. So being able to do that takes a lot of planning and a lot of technological know-how. And also there was a whole bunch of electronic billboards in Iran that at the same time as all these cyber attacks happened, they changed their sign to Khamenei, where's our fuel, which was amazing. And this was all happened.
I saw that.
This all happened at the second anniversary. This whole cyber attacks on the gas station and the billboards changing their sign. This is happening at the second anniversary of the killing that happened in Iran by the government, the killings of the mass protesters of the protests in Iran, and this 2 years ago.
So quickly, who do you think did it? External, internal?
If I had to guess, I don't have enough information, but if I had to guess, I would say it's Israel, because Israel has already promised that they're going to do death by 1,000 cuts again to Iran, and they were basically talking about these type of attacks. They were saying like we're going to basically cause a lot of mess within Iran when it comes to explosions, assassinations, or cyber attacks. So they had promised this, and this does seem like in line with other cyber attacks that Israel had seem to have been responsible for before.
So now like all the paranoia that they had before, that this is because of the Jays, it's because of the Jays. Now it's actually coming true. It's happening. I'd like to quote Kurt Cobain. In Territorial Pissings, he wrote, "Just because we're paranoid, it doesn't mean we're not after you." It's fantastic. But okay, so let's go quickly. Abedin Khurram got slapped. Do you know what that is?
Oh yeah. So again, this a governor of a recent governor of a certain state was giving a speech in front of a big audience, important audience, including the internal ministry of the country, and right on stage when he was talking, somebody just came and just punched. I don't know if it was a slap. It was like a punch in the face in front of everybody, and this was a big deal because these are important. This guy was a big deal in Iran, and the guy who punched him seemed to be also connected with IRGC. So this was like IRGC and this seemed to be like a people within the the fundamentalists in Iran, they seem to be attacking each other. And again, the reason behind it is people are guessing the official reason. Again, this is the official reason that the government wants to tell you. Okay, you would think what I'm going to say is you're going to think that actually this is what the opposition says. The government says, and the governor himself was saying that the reason why he got punched is because this man's wife was being, I don't know, look at me, like I don't want to say it, the VAX, okay, the jab for the
big illness.
Yeah, so his wife.
We can't say that because YouTube is going to give us strike,
So apparently he was getting that, and apparently it was his wife, and a man was giving him the jab, and he was offended that a man was giving him a jab, and for some reason he decided to come punch the governor for that. And people are saying this is the official. People are saying this can't be the reason. Why would you come and punch this man in front of all these people for that? Because you're offended that a man is giving your wife the jab. But apparently the government wants you to believe this story, which is amazing, because you would think that this is a story that you would use to make fun of the government, but the government is saying like this is the actual story. What the people are saying, what the people are saying that the opposition and the people who are against the government are saying is that the actual story is that now that the fundamentalists are in power, the hardliners, that's the word I'm saying. Sorry, I keep saying fundamentalists. Now that the hardliners are in power, and they have no reformers to blame for things, now they're turning on each other. They're turning on each other, and they're for resources, and this is a sign of that. And another thing is that a lot of other people are saying whatever the reason is, we don't know, but they loved it because they're saying that we're getting punched by the government every fucking day. Oh, sorry, God damn, I used this word, but it's good to see them getting punched, feeling that punch once themselves. All right, so next question.
I can use it now too. Yeah. Okay. So next question.
Last question, last patron question, and then we're gonna go to the live.
Oh my gosh, patrons, you guys. Okay,
this is great. Stop complaining. We need more patron questions.
I'm like patrons.
We need
great.
more patron questions. Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
thank you.
James McCaffrey is saying you've both been Muslims. You know Muslims. Can you tell me what is the attraction of Islam for Muslims? I've read the Quran and cannot see anything other than a chance of paradise. So can I answer this? And I'm going to do this really quick.
Yeah, you do it. I won't answer.
In the afterlife. Is the community aspect the pull? It's not. Look, listen, James. The main reason people are religious is because they're born into it. Like, have you ever wondered why the religion that you're born into always makes sense, but the religions you learn about as an adult just seem absolutely insane? I mean, Bill Burr has this thing about he's like, when he first found out about Scientology, he thought it was nuts. Like a spaceship and the sneakers and these theta readings and all this stuff. And then you realize that he believes in a woman who never got laid, but got pregnant and then gave birth to this guy who died and then came back 3 days later, which is just as ridiculous. The only difference is he found out about Scientology when he was an adult. So there's no appeal of Islam. The thing is, you learn about Islam when you believe that the Santa Claus is coming down the chimney, when you learn about Islam, when you believe all of these other fairy tales and you think that there's a boogeyman who's going to come and get you if you don't sleep. That's what's happening in your mind when you learn about these religions. So whatever the religions are, it's not the attraction of the religion. It's the fact that you're indoctrinated into it when you're a kid, right? And that's why it makes sense. So it's an accident of birth, and that's what the attraction is. That's how it happens.
Okay, Music Guy is saying, "Hey, we are paying for these questions."
I know, Music Guy. I was just messing with you guys.
Ali, you have to understand that the share of patron questions will only increase in the future. So
I love it. I think it's amazing, Music Guy. Don't get me wrong. I was being facetious. I hope it didn't come across like it.
Yeah, if anything, the people in the live chat who are not patrons, we should be complaining to them for why they're freeloaders, and we're like, so look, you don't complain to our patrons, complain to other people.
That's correct.
Anyways, okay. All right, here's the first question, and then we'll go to the next.
Okay, Marigo Ann is saying Mr. Navabi needs to talk to Buck Angel. Can Mr. Rizvi help arrange that? I know why Marigo is asking this is because I met and I hung out with Buck Angel back in 2012 at the Feminist Porn Awards in Toronto. So Toronto has this thing called.
Can you? Okay, now you said the P word. Okay, but okay, that's fine.
You can't say that. Jesus. Oh, can you say Jesus? Oh, we can say Jesus.
You can't say it. Okay, Ali, these are not words that will get our channel a strike. It will just deprioritize our video. You can say it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but
so anyway, so I was at this I already mentioned it, what the award show was. And so I met him there, we had a conversation. It was really cool. And he's one of those guys. He has he was born biologically a female, and he says it. So the thing with him, he was out and doing this stuff way before the movement really took hold, right? The trans movement took hold. So he had the full surgery, he had the full hormonal treatment and everything. You look at him, he's basically he has a male existence, he uses male pronouns, does everything, but he says pretty clearly that I'm biologically female. He makes the biologically he was born female. He makes a very clear distinction between sex and gender, like his biological sex and the gender that he chose, right? So, or that he is, not chose. So he's very interesting. He's interesting on Twitter too, and do check him out. Armin, I think you might enjoy him. He's not very popular among the sort of the super woke progressive type people that much, but he's not a right winger at all by any means. So
okay.
Anyway, Susanna saying, "What's your quick take of the Iraqi elections?" We're going to do an episode on the Iraqi elections, so we'll do it. But go ahead with a quick take.
But quick take is that they're doing a recount. They're doing a recount now because the people who are it's the fight between the Shias that are on side of the Muqtada al-Sadr and the Shias that are inside of Iran's government, and the Shias that are inside of Iran's government have lost significantly, which is beautiful. And they can't take it. They're like, there's no way we are going to accept this loss. And they're demanding this recount. And they're already saying, if the recount doesn't give our votes back, we're not going to accept it. We're going to come to the streets. So they're going to be a major, I hope not, but it seems like they're just going to be like, nope, we don't accept the elections. And the Iranian proxies are going to fight. And this is going to be a Shia. This is not Shia versus Sunni. This is Shias who are tired of Iranians' influence in Iran versus the Shias that are just loyal to just Iranian proxies, and they want Iran to come and take over Iraq. Okay, so the ones that have lost the election are the Iranian proxies, and they're coming into the streets, and they have been constantly demanding. They have been threatening violence, and these current recounts are in response to the fact that they're intimidating everybody, and they want different results. So we'll see. This is by the time this comes out, we might have more information. So if you're listening to this later, we might have more information. That's why we're going to do an entire stream on this. Okay?
An entire stream, and maybe even two. And I want to make a correction. I said before, woke progressive. I meant woke anti-progressive, because wokeness is generally very anti-progressive. Yeah, music guy saying literally smack it. Okay.
I'm actually going to come up with a difference. So you're saying smack the like button. I'm going to say rub the like button until it becomes wet. Just keep rubbing it until you scream.
Oh, God. So ungentlemanly. Ungentlemanly. Okay, let's go.
All right.
Jack Knife is saying, if an ex-Muslim doesn't cause any quote-unquote corruption in the land in an Islamic country, are they safe, or do they still have to get executed? So Jack is referencing, I think it's Surah 5, verse 33 in the Quran, where it says that, and anybody who causes corruption in the land, basically says they should be crucified. Or I think it was 534, but it's one of those. So the corruption in the land, so Jack, what happens is corruption in the land, basically, you're saying doesn't cause any corruption in the land. That would mean that the ex-Muslim doesn't even say that they're ex-Muslim. The moment that the ex-Muslim comes out and says, hey, Islam, I was raised in it, I don't really care for it much anymore. It just says that much. That is corruption in the land. So the threshold for what corruption in the land means is very, very low. So no, they're not really safe. If you know that they're ex-Muslims, they've made it apparent in any way, they're not safe.
Okay, so this is two different things. You're talking about the Quranic verse, and based on this Quranic verse, the interpretation is that if you just are an ex-Muslim or not converting other people to out of Islam or deconverting people out of Islam, then you're not spreading corruption, so you should be safe. But if you go and tell people that Islam bad, like what me and Elia are doing, then you are spreading corruption and you should be crucified. Okay, but that's only if you focus on the Quran, because if you then go to Bukhari Hadith, then even if we're not spreading corruption, by corruption I mean telling people, for example, that hey, maybe consider leaving Islam. Okay, that's corruption. But even if you're just an ex-Muslim that are just keeping it to yourself, according to authentic Islamic hadith, even then you should be beheaded. Okay, so you're focusing on the Quran, but hadith itself makes it very clear that even if you keep it to yourself, you are supposed to be.
Even in the Quran, though, I mean, the moment, like, there are people who've argued that once you come out and say that you're ex-Muslim, even if you don't tell everybody to become one, once you come out and say it just by example, you're giving the example that this is something you can do, and that itself could be seen as corruption in the land as well. So it depends on the threshold. It depends on the threshold.
Not spreading corruption would mean you just became an ex-Muslim and you're keeping it a secret.
Keeping it a secret.
That means you're not spreading corruption. But again, that's only if you focus on the Quran. If you add the hadith, if somebody finds out, even if you're not spreading it, according to hadith, you should still be killed. Again, YouTube, that's not what we're saying. We're just describing what scripture says. We are anti-violence. This does not describe my view or Ali's view. We are just describing Islamic hadith. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, YouTube.
Yes. The reason why I say this is because if there is a strike, when we appeal the strike, we can show exactly what we were saying. Like we could highlight the moment that we clarified what we were saying. It helps. It doesn't help with the strike, but it does help with the appealing of the strike. Anyways, next question.
Bulbul is saying the TLP in Pakistan is carrying out violence to demand the expulsion of the French ambassador. The government is considering their demands. What do you think will be the consequences? So this has been happening, for a while now. I mean, this is not recent. It's the government has taken what they want to do. They want to expel the French, demanding the expulsion of the French ambassador, and they've brought it up. As a legitimate point of debate in Parliament, because a lot of people agree with it. A lot of people are really upset, including the Prime Minister, really upset about the French and Emmanuel Macron, especially talking about how Muslims, Islam is not immune to criticism and all that stuff. What do we think will be the consequences? I don't know. Break ties with France. It's not really going to matter that much because Pakistan kind of does this stuff all the time. It's a borderline failed state. I don't really think France is going to lose a whole lot from it either. But there is one sort of double standard here. Is that Pakistan is very, very good friends with China, and China is actually carrying out a genocide against the Uyghur Muslims there. They've got them in underground concentration camps. They're doing terrible things. We've done several episodes on this. But they refuse to accept that there's a genocide happening. And Imran Khan just very openly says, no, I believe China's side of the story. So they have this, someone saying a couple of things here and there. They call them Islamophobic, and they want to expel the ambassador. And then you have this country that's actually carrying out a genocide against Muslims, and they don't care. So that hypocrisy, I think, is very, very apparent to everybody.
Okay, so Ali, the TLP in Pakistan, this is basically, I want people to know exactly what that stands for. This is something more people need to be concerned about, okay? This is the Islamic group in Pakistan, basically the Mujahideen, the Islamists, and this is a force to be reckoned with, and I just want people to, I think this is something that more people, the world needs to be a lot more concerned about than they are right now. Okay, this is not just about the French ambassador. The fact that this is something that the TLP is demanding and they are being taken seriously, it's going beyond them being taken seriously. The Pakistani army is using these Islamists as a way to intimidate the civilian government, Imran Khan. And Imran Khan has to bend the knee because he doesn't have a choice. Okay, there are three forces in Pakistan. One of them is these Islamists, and their mob, mentality, and the fact that they can stir crap up in the country. And then it's a civilian government, it's Imran Khan, and then it's the army. Okay, and the civilian government, it seems to be the weakest one. and you have the army is the only one that is the only force that could hold the Islamists at bay, basically maintain their influence, right? Like not let it get out of control. But the problem is that it's not that they're against them, they actually actively use them as a way to get what they want from the civilian government. And this is extremely getting more and more messed up. It's getting extremely dangerous, because the more this whole narrative of the way you get people to bend the knee is just with one narrative, is the constant recognition and submission to acceptance of Muhammad as the last prophet, not Khatam al-Anbiya, which is basically has been the main force to attack all minorities, and also to get the temperature of how much somebody is on your side, but how devoted they are to this cause, and this cause alone, more and above everything else, right? And this has become a flag of, like, people have to wave it around constantly, like, yes, the last prophet, I am submitting to the TLP, I am submitting to Islamists, okay? And the problem with this is that the more this happens, the more these Islamists get control, the more they're going to have a relative higher power compared to all the other forces, so much so that even the army was not going to be able to maintain them, because the army is mixing with them. The army is basically not only mixing with them, it seems like a lot of forces within the army is even sympathetic with them. And the more this grows, the more it's going to seem like it's possible for us to consider Pakistan, at least not, I don't want to be Arab Republic, but the idea of Pakistan becoming a failed state, I'm not saying it's probable, but the possibility of it even is becoming a bigger deal. And we're talking about a nuclear country. We're talking about a country with nuclear weapons, and this insane, as much as we complain about India, or even Iran, the level of chaos that exists within Pakistan, the level of is so worrying. Okay, we are talking about people that their main concern is Islam. Even if you look at Iran, which is a theocracy, the group of people that are in charge there, their main concern is not Islam. Their main concern is survival. Okay, the level of obsession that these TLP people have in Pakistan is, if these people take over Pakistan, a country with nuclear weapons, this is an absolute, this is Armageddon level stuff. Okay, this is like a world, like country ending. I'm not saying, again, I don't want to be hyperbolic. I'm not saying this is probable. Okay, but even if we're going from 1% to 2% or 1.5%, we're talking about consequences that the world cannot pay. This should. Whatever is happening in Pakistan right now should be a major concern globally. Anyways, Ali, I don't know if you agree or disagree with any of that.
No, I'm good with all of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Brandy Spears is asking if Dave Chappelle joking about beating up a butch lesbian as hilarious as you claim it to be? You will, when you put it like that, he was joking about beating up a lesbian, then obviously, like, that's crazy. But you have to, most people who are talking about this stuff not see the special from beginning to end. The entire point of the special is to the fact that you should be able to joke about anything, right? And you can make it funny. And people were doing it, and they were laughing about it. This isn't the first time he did it in the same special. He also talked about how he enjoyed being molested by a preacher. He said some really, he's made similar kinds of jokes. He's been doing it since the early 2000s. He's been doing it on the Chappelle show. This is how comedy works. It's always worked that way. So, it just really shouldn't be taken seriously. And if somebody is taking it really seriously, they should do it after they've seen the entire special. Brandy, I don't think you have. So,
yeah, I think, that part of it was, actually it was funny because it was about recognizing somebody. No, I think it was about recognizing somebody who was identifying as a man as truly a man. Wasn't that the case?
And then he said the TMZ, like, so it was something about, I can't remember exactly, but he said,
Oh, no,
TMZ.
I think it was a different joke. I forgot. Yeah, go on.
No, it was like that he didn't know that it was a woman. And then he, so he didn't. He said, I didn't do it. And, the report came out, and TMZ Luckily TMZ didn't believe it. So I got. And then later he said, and I'm glad TMZ didn't believe it because I did eventually beat the shit out of her, and that was a joke, right? So it's.
I think we remember it getting correctly, but I just remember whatever it was. I do remember it being funny, in my opinion. You guys, when you ask you guys, okay, so what's funny is like not objective, obviously. I found the whole thing to be extremely hilarious, even though Dave Chappelle seemed to be ignorant about the difference between sex and gender.
Yes,
which is
I
fine.
agree.
Which is fine. You could, I mean, it's not fine. You would think that somebody that is this involved with that whole issue would be a little bit more educated about it. So I can't criticize him for not being educated about the difference between sex and gender. However, his ignorance about the difference between sex and gender apart, it was extremely hilarious in my opinion. I loved it, and I also think it was extremely pro-trans. I think it was the most pro-trans thing I've ever seen, especially because it appeals to a whole bunch of people who might be transphobic. And if they watch the whole thing, I think it was the best pro-trans content that these group of people could have been exposed to. The way that they were made fun of and then humanized and then sympathized with. It was so powerful, You recognize, in fact, you take them seriously enough to know that they are, as that they you can joke about them, right? Just like you don't treat them like children that can't take a joke. So you take them seriously, you joke about them. But then also, I think it was kind of like a trap as well, because a lot of these anti-SJW, anti-woke people, a lot of them are actual transphobes. And then you lure them in because they think that this is like a transphobic content, and then you hit them with all the humanism of the humanizing the experiences of all the trans people, and also sympathizing with them, and also highlighting the struggles that they're going through to an audience that would have never been exposed to it otherwise. I think it was a very powerful a pro-trans piece of content out there. I'm not going to stop criticizing Dave Chappelle for his ignorance about some basic stuff, which is the difference between sex and gender. I still think that criticism stands, but I also want to acknowledge how useful and powerful this whole
that's a piece of the conversation that's actually missing from everywhere. Everything's so reactionary and everything's so angry, and when you amplify everything, you hear nothing. So that difference between sex and gender, that's something that, like, we talk about the difference between Islam and Muslims, we talk about it over and over and over again. That's something that has to be repeated. It should be central to the conversation, but it isn't. But Brandy, like this whole thing about the joking about being, there's nobody in that audience who was laughing who thinks that it's okay to beat up lesbians. There's nobody. I don't think that. Armin doesn't think that. Everybody who thought that joke was funny doesn't think that. A lot of
unless that's their kink, then to go ahead. Unless that's their kink.
Unless that's it. Okay, yeah. All right. Anyway, so but just watch the whole thing, please. Bulbul says that Saudi has promised $3 billion in aid to Pakistan. Do you think this is a cover for spreading Wahhabism? they don't need a cover to spread Wahhabism in Pakistan.
Wait,
they can do it for free.
I mean, they are proud of it. Like Saudi Arabia names mosques after themselves. Like when they open madrasas and mosques that to spread Wahhabism, they name, actually maybe they do need a cover now because they're like. Because actually, Ali, I don't know, because they used to be proud of it. Now they're trying to say that they're past that.
Yeah.
So but the thing is that the Saudi government right now doesn't want to spread Wahhabism. The Saudi government right now has become anti-Wahhabi.
Ramp it down.
Like,
yeah.
Not only ramp it down, they are scared of Wahhabism. The House of Saud and the House of Wahhab has had a major divorce, the greatest divorce they ever had since 1979. Such a great divorce that not like the highest anti-Wahhabi speech that I've ever heard from the highest power in the Islamic world has came out of Mohammed bin Salman's war. By the way, this is not an endorsement of the House of Saud. Mohammed bin Salman could be anti-Wahhabi now, but they are the House of Saud is a violator of human rights to a greater degree than the House of Wahhab. Just because somebody is an Islamist and somebody is not, it doesn't mean that the crimes that they're committing is less of a crime because they happen not to be Wahhabis. Okay, so Saudis have realized that they can't rely on oil forever, and the money is tight, and they need investment and tourism, and they're like, this Wahhabi stuff is not convenient for us, so they're trying to step away from it, and not only step away from it, attack it and put people that might want to be stand against you attacking it in jail, or like secretly physically remove you behind the scenes. Okay, but the thing is that when Mohammed bin Salman came out and spoke against, again, he doesn't frame it as against Wahhabism, because he make it seem like Wahhab himself would be for him, because he says like, you guys are worshiping Wahhab in a way that he wouldn't like it, but he fundamentally questions 95% of Islamic hadith, which is not just an attack on Wahhabism, it's an attack on all four Islamic schools of thought, which is the foundation of the Hanbali school of thought and Wahhabism that is built right upon it, right? So these people, like, if you look at all their propaganda and everything they're putting out there, it's very un-Islamic, and I don't want them. I don't think they want to be. Wahhabism as a whole has become a Frankenstein monster that has become a curse upon them, and it has come and turned into an enemy in the form of Al Qaeda and ISIS that considers the House of Saud itself an enemy, right? This has, so this is not something that they're interested in increasing, I think.
They don't. The world doesn't really. Yeah, the world doesn't really need their oil anymore, so now they want foreign investment. They want to integrate into the rest of the world.
I mean, they still do, but it doesn't seem like it's heading in a different direction.
They know that in the future it's not sustainable anymore, like it was. Yeah. All right, next one, Brandy Spears. Do all 7.5 billion people on the planet fit into only 2 binary boxes, as you have repeatedly claimed? Who has repeatedly claimed that? Okay, so she says, hold on, forgot to wish you a happy Intersex Awareness Day yesterday. Who?
Brandy, you're an idiot. Brandy, you're a moron. We are in complete support of non-binary people when we recognize their existence. You guys are so stupid if you think that. Maybe this is by the way, I acknowledge, like, maybe if you come later and say I was joking, guys, you don't understand the joke. Okay, if I'm gonna treat this as if it's serious. If you're joking, your joke is not obvious. Okay, if you're a troll, this is not obvious.
Brandy, I actually really like my nieces and nephews. I mean, who are in high school right now. They're exploring these things. They're like, what is my identity? Am I? What's my gender? Where do I fit on the thing? I couldn't do that when I was a kid. I wasn't into sports. I couldn't run, and I used to like writing poetry. All right, so because I was bullied really, really badly, because I didn't fit into the whole jock thing. So I like the fact that this new generation, the generation my daughter and my nieces and nephews are growing up in, don't have to necessarily do. They can explore their stuff, and eventually they can come around to it. Now, the other thing is, like, the 2 binary boxes. Yes, most people, there are 2 binary boxes, and there's a whole spectrum in the middle of it. Both of those things are true, right? That doesn't mean, why do you need terms like cis and trans? Cis and trans, like, you wouldn't even need those terms.
Everybody already knows that we're for. Yeah, but I don't want to. We know we are for all of this, but Brandy, I think the main highlight is that Brandy Spears is an idiot who just thinks that people who disagree with him, like, they must be against everything you stand for. You are a tribal person that you think that all the people that you have heard something negative about, they must be like bigots or transphobes, or like we might be right-leaning. Just because we have views that you might have had issues with, you consider us to be like right-leaning people that are against LGBT. You're an idiot. Okay, you are part of the tribal mindset that makes discourse impossible between people that might be interested in having interesting and nuanced disagreements with each other. You see everything in black and white, and you should be ashamed. You should be very ashamed. I would
This is
go
a
and-
disservice to all of those groups that you're trying to protect, that you're trying
Yeah.
to think you're standing up for. It's a disservice to them. It's
I
absolutely.
think you should go sit in a corner and ask yourself, how am I this stupid? Like,
Okay,
why am I?
Armin.
Why does
Armin,
my
come
brain
on.
not function properly?
Okay,
Anyways,
let's
John.
go. Okay, John Vilhar is saying, why don't you upload those 500 plus videos which you deleted from YouTube to censorship resistant platform Odyssey? Did we delete 500 plus videos?
Oh no, Atheist Republic has deleted
Oh.
a lot of our library because we've been demonetized, and YouTube doesn't tell us which videos are a problem. So we had to delete. We basically had to remove decades worth of work because YouTube doesn't clarify. Oh, like, oh, you've been demonetized because some of your videos are bad. Like, which one? You're like, you know how you have, like, you know, your girlfriend or boyfriend that just like acts bad and upset, and you just try to figure out what's wrong, and they just like, you have to figure it out yourself. Well, if you don't know yourself, what's the point of even telling you? Like, that's, you know, that attitude. YouTube has that attitude with us, right? You're like, you're misbehaving. You're like, okay, where? Like, you have to figure this out. I'm like, but we have thousands of videos. We can't go through all of them. And YouTube is like, well, that sounds like a you problem, not an us problem. And so we go and delete 500 videos, and then apply for demonetization. And YouTube comes back and says, like, nope, it's still there. I can still see it. Like, well, just point it out to us. Just tell us which one. And apparently now we have to go and maybe delete another 200. Okay. So the reason why we're not uploading it on Odyssey, okay, John, get this. This gets really bad. Okay. Are you ready? The reason why we're not uploading it anywhere is because YouTube has come and said recently that you could be demonetized for stuff that you have said outside of YouTube. And that's why the videos we were deleting, we're not going to upload them anywhere. So There we go.
All right, let's go on. Bobo, so
we got a super chat. We got a super chat from Music Guy saying, because
thank you, Music Guy.
Thank you. $10 super chat. That's very sweet. Thank you. And he's a patron as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. That's really nice. Music Guy, you're awesome. Bobo is saying, what have been your best Halloween costumes? What are your plans for this year, if any? Oh man, I haven't. You know, I'm probably gonna just come up to it. My main thing was once I went in a burqa and I had a sign that said "nudist on strike." Right, so that was basically it. I don't know if that was a good Halloween costume. Probably.
I never.
What was yours?
No, I don't have one because I had Halloween costumes, but I did enjoy them, but the process of obtaining the costume and getting it, the effort of it was more the costly than the joy that I got out of it. Okay?
Yeah. Now, I mean, I have a kid, so it's all about, like, you know, her, and it's a lot of fun, like, doing it. But I remember I was Jesus once. Maybe I'll go as Muhammad this time. We'll see. All right.
I don't know, unless somebody takes care of it for me and goes and gets all the work done and all, and then I just have to wear it, I will do it. But like, so far, every time we had any costume had to be, I was involved in everything, and I was like, this was not worth it. And I also don't like parties. I don't like going out. I don't like hanging out with people and physically, you know. I rather just do this instead. So this whole thing is not at all fun for me. So I'm glad to say that this Halloween, I'm not going to do anything at all. Especially, shouldn't we be doing social distancing anyways? Like, I don't understand. Anyways, never mind.
Yeah.
I'll move on.
Next one is also from Bulbul. Oh no, it's from D Boudreau, 11:25 p.m.
Wait, really? Okay, hold on. Wait, give me a second. No, Bulbul had a question here.
Those are comments, I think. Same for Christianity. The British promised great education through conversations.
Okay, those are comments. You're right.
Yeah. So D is saying, did you hear that the judge in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial has forbidden calling the people he killed victims? Your thoughts? Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, the judge has said that Kyle Rittenhouse, who was this, you know, guy this young kid who decided to take a gun during these protests.
I think that makes sense. I think basically, if there is a jury involved.
No. He wants to call the people who died, rioters or looters. He doesn't want to call them victims. So the judge is actually considering that. I don't. They
No,
weren't.
but is that because there's a they? I mean,
Do you
I
know the
think
story
it's
of the
fair.
Kyle Rittenhouse?
Yeah, it
You know
was
the story?
self-defense in my. I think it was complete
I
self-defense.
don't think it was. We disagree on this. Yeah, so I think it's it's nuts. I think the people he killed
I
were
mean,
victims.
it looked like it looked like I look. Okay, maybe I miss. Maybe I
No,
am.
no, no. It wasn't
me-
self-defense. Like he shot these
He
people.
was. Yeah, he shot them while they were right above
And
his head.
nobody was
attacking
coming
them.
at him. Nobody was attacking him. They weren't.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe
was a
maybe I'm wrong.
protest.
I just the videos I saw it looked like self-defense. Maybe
Yeah,
my
I saw the
again,
exact
guys, I'm
opposite.
not an expert. I think this should be left for the courts and stuff. I think my interpretation of what happened is based on very limited understanding of how to analyze these things and the videos I've seen, and based on my limited understanding, it looked like, if somebody was coming at me that way and I had a gun, I would probably not wait around to see what's going to happen.
That's
But
not. I didn't. So anyway, we disagree on this.
anyways, but I do think that I don't know if there's a jury involved. I think the judge, considering the language that is being used, could influence the jury in a way. I think that's fair for the judge to consider. I don't know. Again, I'm not a legal expert. I don't know. Maybe I have no idea. You have to. I'm happy to be convinced.
I see what you're saying. If he's making an argument, if his defense is making an argument that he was doing this in self-defense, and then they decide, the judge allows them to be called victims, and when it's not decided yet. So I understand why that would happen. So that's a fair point. I get that. In reality, I don't think that they were. I do think that they were victims, but for the purpose of the trial, if his defense is making the case that it was self-defense and they're trying that, then for fair trial purposes, then sure, I can see that argument. I'm just not fully convinced. So,
Okay.
1132, Jim Waxer.
32, Jim Waxer. Hold on. 32? Okay, here.
Yeah. So Jim Waxer saying, who do you think is the most famous Muslim in North America and the world right now? Shaq, Chappelle, Bella Hadid, Dr. Oz. It's a North American Muslim. The One Direction guy is Zayn. Well, Zayn Malik from the One Direction came out and said he's not Muslim anymore. So Zayn Malik is one of us. He's an ex-Muslim. Right now, at this point, I think it would probably be. Shaq is super famous and Dave Chappelle is super famous. I think those two are probably the ones. It's just that most people don't know that Dave Chappelle is Muslim. So
I don't think Dave Chappelle knows he's Muslim.
No, he's on the. If you watch my next guest,
I'm kidding. I just think because his understanding of Islam seems to be, I'm very.
Oh no, he. Weird. So I'll tell you, you guys should watch actually the Dave Chappelle. People are interested in this whole thing. Should watch David Letterman's interview of him in my next guest. I think that's a show on Netflix. So it's a very recent. I think it was done in 2020. I think it was done in 2020, and he did an interview with Dave Chappelle where he talked about his religion, and he said, I'm just not good at it. He said that, I'm Muslim, but I'm not very good. I'm not saying I'm good at it, which he clearly isn't. Thank God. Alhamdulillah. So, okay, so let's go. Afif Khaja is saying, can you please comment on Daniel Hakikaju's interview with Abu American, founder of the polygamous matrimonial site? Will Hakikaju be successful in bringing polygamy to the mainstream? Hakikaju isn't going to be successful bringing anything in the mainstream. He's a fringe guy, fun to get on, but even a lot of Muslim people can't stand this guy. I mean, it's just he's nuts. Armin?
I mean, if I don't think Daniel Hakikaju has that much of. You're overestimating his influence, but if he's successful at anything, I hope he's successful at that. I mean, that's not something I oppose. Is that something you oppose, Ali?
And what, polygamous matrimonial site?
Yeah,
matrimonial.
Polygyny.
Oh, polygyny. Yeah, I mean, if people want to do whatever they want to do. If it's a matrimonial site, people want to have. Like I have friends who are polygamous or who are polyandrous. It happens. Polyamorous.
Yeah, actually.
Whatever.
I think if that becomes mainstream, Afif, you shouldn't give the credit to Daniel Hagaju. I think it's because of liberalism and people accepting other forms of, I don't know, family structure or relationships, that's going to become mainstream. It's not going to be because of people Daniel Hagaju. But anyways, if Daniel Hagaju does become influential, that's the only thing I wish him success in. I mean, but not the Islamic way of it. But I mean, just I'm for that.
Yeah, go for it. It's not for me, but whatever.
Yeah. As long as women get to be with more than one, so I'm in complete support of men being able to have multiple wives. As long as some women get to have multiple husbands as well.
Yeah, Kikaju is not going to be down with that.
I know.
He's not going to be down with it. Yeah. All right, so let's go on. Jackknife. I'm saying Daniel Hakikaju and David Woods are having a debate on violence and tolerance. Imam Armin, who do you think is going to win? Come on, let's do this quickly. We've got 15 minutes left.
They both are going to win because the Daniel Hagaju is going to look extremely good to his audience, and they're going to think like he completely destroyed David Woods, and David Woods is also going to look really good to his audience, and they're going to think like he completely destroyed Daniel Hagaju. So they both are going to come out happy and thinking like they're one. So that's my prediction.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh no, that's our Susanna. Oh, here.
Matt Ball is saying, which Muslim country closest depicts liberty, freedom, and individuality? Thank you. Good question. If you'd asked me about 15 to 20 years ago, I would have said Turkey. You ask me now, I'd say probably at this point, well, I mean, there's Tunisia, but that's also kind of becoming a little iffy. I don't know. There's some of the Far East countries like, Malaysia isn't really a Muslim country. I mean, you're talking about Muslim majority countries, possibly a liberty, freedom, and individuality. There would have been Turkey, Tunisia. You know, there's some places that are actually a little bit more open, but on a very, very relative scale, like Indonesia, Bangladesh, maybe. I mean, there's issues everywhere, but
I was going to say Tunisia, but then I remembered Albania.
Albania is interesting. See, Albania is about 90-something% Muslim majority, but none of the Muslims are really religious there. So Albania is the only country in the history of the world that once had atheism as a state religion, as in it was a forced atheism religion. And it's funny that happened in a country that's majority Muslim. So you're right.
Also, Azerbaijan might also be a good candidate.
Yeah. But again, like even when it had that, it was forced. So it wasn't liberty, freedom, and individuality. Those things are not necessarily part of it.
So Tunisia is a good candidate right before the recent coup, I guess. I mean, it's still one of the best ones. And yeah, maybe Albania, maybe Azerbaijan. I have to study more what the Azerbaijan's government is like. But yeah, Azerbaijan might be a good candidate as well. Maybe I'm wrong. I have to look into it. Okay, it made a jump. Oh, there we go. Okay, found it.
Abdullah Sharif is saying, what do you guys think about Pervez Hoodbhoy? Love him. Absolutely love him. Pervez Hoodbhoy, he's a physicist. He's Pakistani, and he's a big advocate of secularism. He comes from an Ismaili background, but, we're not going to talk. He still lives in Pakistan, so I don't want to talk too much about him, but he's controversial. He stands up against the BS that happens there. I don't know how he is surviving there. He has made the case for more science education in Pakistan. I mean, he's an absolute hero. If everybody in Pakistan was like Pervez Hoodbhoy, the world would be a better place. Mia is saying, hi, Ali Rizvi, could you please tell us how your life changed, responsibilities, views on society, money, life, etc., before and after becoming a father? And then the second part, as a married man, I realize having kids is a very significant milestone and changes your life in a lot of ways. I'm interested in hearing your views. I wasn't really into having kids for the longest time. I had my daughter when I was 41 years old. So for 41 years, I was child-free, and I really enjoyed my life. So in my case, I absolutely loved it. It did transform my life, and it was virtually all of it was positive. There were the sleepless nights and everything around the first year. But the thing about having a kid in the late age, right, in your 40s, is by this time, if you need help, you can get a nanny. You can get childcare. You don't have to worry about finances. You don't have to worry about, you're professionally, you're kind of settled, and every other way you're doing okay relatively. So you don't have a fear of missing out, that, I'm missing out on hanging out with my friends or family, because, you did that for 40 years. So for me, having all of that stuff done with, and the other thing is, like, when you're 40, you're a little calmer too. All the problems and issues that you had, either you fixed them, addressed them, and the ones that you haven't fixed, you said, okay, screw it, this is the way I am. You've accepted them. So, you're more patient. You really, really I've really, really enjoyed it thoroughly, because I just haven't had any of those other issues that people have when they have their kids at a younger age. And I haven't really felt any lack of energy or anything either. I'm able to do whatever I want. So yeah, it's completely different. And there is one more thing I'll say. I think fathers should be, I'm like a single father right now, right? So I'm not married anymore, but I have, there's something you do when you are caring for a child. There's a side of you that comes out as a man that I didn't know I had for 40 years. And it's that vulnerable side when they say that, it's like your heart that's going around, walking outside your body. It really is like that. There is a kind of true, like, unconditional love that you experience that you've never experienced before. Now, if you don't have that, if you don't ever experience it, that doesn't mean your life is lacking. If I never had a kid, I would have still had a happy life. That doesn't mean it's like a foreskin, right? Like if you have, if you have a foreskin, you keep the foreskin, you'll really enjoy things. Someone takes that foreskin away, it's going to suck. But if you never had a foreskin, you'll be like, well, I'm still having great sex. I don't need a foreskin. It's like listening your whole life, listening to a great band without the bass. You're never going to know if you've never heard the bass before. So it's like that. But when you do experience it, it is absolutely phenomenal. That's it.
So
I'm done.
Children are like foreskin.
Yes, having children. Yeah, it is. The love that you experience with having a kid.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
If you don't have you're not missing out if you don't have a kid. That's a perfectly legitimate choice. But if you do have a kid, you just experience things at an entirely different level. So that way, it's like foreskin.
Okay.
Are you gonna take this clip and put? Okay, never mind. Let's move on. Nikita is saying, is Armin an annoying friend because of his hyper rationalism? I do get under Armin's skin a lot. I think that I am more of an annoying friend to Armin because of his hyper rationalism, because I enjoy it. Armin likes to start this thing exactly on time, like it's a TV show. If any glitches happen, if anybody's late or a guest doesn't have a good internet connection, Armin gets very stressed. And it's Armin, you're gonna hate me for saying this. It's kind of cute. So I think it's sweet that he's like that. It's a great thing. What? Sorry, go ahead.
I think I tell you very calmly about how many times you mess up. I think you think you okay. Ali is a boomer and he can't fix very simple things, and he thinks that other people, and he thinks it's cute that he's annoying people, but he just doesn't understand that this is like I don't have this problem with anybody else. Like he's such an old man that he can't figure out how to fix his audio, how to fix his internet, and it takes a very long time until he gets it done. And he constantly telling him that, dude, no other person has this problem except you. He thinks like, oh, this is so cute. People are being annoyed with me. I'm such a sadist. I enjoy watching people getting annoyed.
See what I mean, Nikita? See what I mean? This is exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm telling yeah, he loves it.
Anyway, let's go on. We've got 7 minutes.
But by the way, notice how we completely avoided the question, because the thing is, me being a hyper rationalist, which is thank you. I accept that compliment because it's true. I am a rationalist, but he cannot acknowledge that, so he has to change this to me being annoyed.
Oh no,
because of his income. He focuses on me being annoyed with his incompetence. So he acknowledges that he's incompetent and he can't get simple things correctly.
Take yes for an answer. I'm complimenting. She's saying, or he's saying, he's like, is Armin an annoying friend? annoying
I
friend
am
because it's hyper.
acknowledging. I am acknowledging. I am taking it. I'm accepting the compliment. Yes, I am a hyper rationalist. Thank you so much. I'm proud of it.
No, from
Okay?
me, I'm agreeing with the
Oh.
hyper rationalist part, and my answer is basically no. He's not an annoying friend. I enjoy it. Like
No,
I don't
but you
understand. Like,
are. I
it's
know
a
I
great
am not
thing.
an annoying. I am not an annoying friend. But the message is that you are an annoying friend, and that has nothing to do with my rationalism. That has more to do with you not being able to get very simple technological stuff right. Okay, so that
This is we obviously clearly disagree, but yes,
okay, okay. I love you. Okay.
I love you too. Let's go with it.
Okay.
Amir Jalal is saying, "How was your experience interviewing fake ex-Muslim apostate mom?" People, especially when interviewing ex-Muslims from India. No. Why be more careful?
We were very good. I'm so proud of our performance there.
We had him on. Yeah, we talked about all this stuff. First half hour, we had this conversation. Second half hour, we tried to, probe him on the Hindutva thing. He would not condemn it, and then his internet somehow, conked out. And while his laptop died, there wasn't enough. There wasn't electricity in the house, so he couldn't charge it. And I don't know what happened. And this is around the same time, just coincidentally, when the conversation became really uncomfortable, and he didn't have so. Whatever, maybe it was just coincidence, but he did write to me, and he wants to come back on. So I think that will be kind of fun. I think we'll focus and continue that conversation, hopefully when his laptop is working. So we'll see.
I do not accept this accusation that we were not careful. And if anything, you could see that we were very careful on making sure no form of bigotry we're not being used as a form of spreading any form of bigotry. Okay, so how could we have been more careful? I think we were extremely responsible with that episode.
Yeah, agree.
Mia
is saying, isn't it the entire Muslim world? They're all silent on China. Is it because they can't blame Zionists and CIA, in Pakistan's case Hindus, as China is against them all? Yeah, I mean, China, a lot of them have. China's a powerful country. Okay, it's like there's some things. Yeah, China's a lot of it. A lot of the Muslim world is. It's interesting they're not saying anything against China. If it was Israel or some other country that was non-Muslim, or like Israel, the Jewish state, if they were doing the same thing to just a tiny fraction of Muslims, which they often do, that China is doing to a whole population, ethnic, Muslim group, the entire world, as you've seen, it just becomes a complete shitstorm. But in this case, it isn't. So yeah, there absolutely is a double standard.
Okay, I need to respond to this. Mia was saying, I must disagree. Pakistan is now immune to nuclear blackmail thanks to China. Pakistan's army is incredibly resilient and has survived every challenge. The TLP will also be overcome. Okay, Mia, I don't think you were listening to what I was saying. I didn't say it's probable. I say it's possible. And I made it very clear that even if the possibility goes from 1% to 1.5%, it's still too high of a chance for a country that has nuclear weapon. Okay, again, there's no, even if Pakistan is not close to becoming a failed state, it's the closest nuclear country to a failed state. That should be a red flag. That should be raising alarms everywhere. Okay, there's no other country that has this high chance of leakage of nuclear material compared to more than Pakistan. Even if the possibility is low, it's higher than anywhere else, and this should be a major concern for everybody. So the things that I'm saying does not contradict what you're saying.
Yeah, let's do, I think we've got 2 more minutes. Let's do 4 more questions, and then we'll have to wrap it up. I know there's a lot of questions. Sorry, guys, we can't get to all of them. But Mia is saying, which country spreads the most toxic form of Islamism? Saudi Arabia, Turkey, or Qatar? Or is it Iran? To me, I think it's not necessarily the most toxic. It's the countries that have, even if it's a little less toxic, but the countries that actually have a lot of power to spread it. So Saudi Arabia during the 80s, for example, is a really great example. They were just completely swimming in oil money, and they were using all of that money to fund these madrasas that the Taliban came out of, and then they gave safe haven to Al-Qaeda and so on. So that is, I think, supremely dangerous. Turkey and Qatar, I mean, obviously, like there's huge problems in all of them. But I think in terms of influence in the past, it was Saudi Arabia. I think right now, Iran, even like Iran, I think it really hurts them locally. They're supporting Syria too. I mean, all of these countries, they have different ways of doing it.
It's definitely Iran. I mean, I don't know by toxic. I don't. How do you measure the toxicity of it? But when it comes to level of influence and them all have damage they can do right now, it's definitely Iran's government. There's no other country that is more motivated to spread its ideology outside of its borders more than the IRGC. So
Yeah,
it is definitely Iran by a huge distance.
okay.
All right.
Let's move on.
Oh, by the way, Mia was saying thanks for the clarification. You're welcome, Mia. We're going.
Indian government has detained Kashmiri students under the anti-terror law, a UAPA, for cheering for Pakistan in the latest India versus Pakistan cricket match. Your reaction? Yeah, that's.
I don't know if that is that. Go on. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, Pakistan is for the first time ever. Pakistan beat India. You're like, this is the World Cup that was happening. So that I mean, it's not the actual World Cup, but Pakistan beat India. It was a big thing. So apparently, these students in Kashmir were cheering for Pakistan, and I don't know about this, but apparently, Mir Jalal is saying the Indian government has detained these students for cheering them, and as it's seen as terrorism, which is ridiculous. It's nuts.
I mean, I don't know if this is true because we have to. But assuming it's true, it's obviously insane and ridiculous. Like, what else would we say if this news is true? I mean, what other reaction do you think we would have to this if it is accurate that cheering for being arrested for cheering, like I want to ask Mirjala, what do you, if this news is accurate, what do you think we would say? Obviously, we would condemn it. Obviously, that's ridiculous, right? Do you expect anything else from us? Yeah. Okay, Ali, do you see any? There's a lot more question, but you said you wanted to just limit them.
Yeah. So let's just see. Oh, Jimmy Bungash is here.
Jimmy. Wait.
I love Jimmy.
To me, where?
12:15 a.m. And Jimmy is saying, Jimmy, you gotta come back on the show soon. And I know we've been talking about this for a while and it hasn't happened, but you do have to.
Whoa. Where is he? I don't see
12:15 a.m.
All right, never mind.
I'll just read it out. He's
saying, just read it.
He's saying, who's your favorite gay? And the answer is Jimmy Bungash, of course.
He just wants he just wants compliments.
I know, and I'm gonna give it to him. It's great.
Yeah, fine.
Okay,
it's Jimmy. Wait, is it Jimmy? Let me think. It is Jimmy. It is actually
Jimmy.
Damn it.
Jimmy is for those who are wondering, what we're talking about. This is Jimmy Bungash is.
Wait, no. Music guy is also. Oh, music guy is right here. I should be. And music guy is a patron. About? Is Jimmy a patron?
Is Jimmy a patron? I don't know. Anyway, let's move on.
Actually, I don't know. It's for me, it's a tie between music guy and Jimmy.
Okay.
And also music, because I love Jimmy, but music guy's questions are the best. Some of the best questions that we get. Okay, and music guy is very knowledgeable and has very nuanced takes on geopolitical stuff. And I constantly get impressed by the things that he throws us over. I get every time I'm like, I better know my stuff because music guy is going to be there. I better be on top of my everything because music guy is going to be in the live chat and he's going to ask me some questions. Okay. So music guy and Jimmy, Jimmy also, I love Jimmy because Jimmy was very nice to me when I went to London. He took care of me and he's very sweet. I love music guy because of his takes and his nuanced questions, and I love Jimmy because he's just a loving person and he's very sweet and nice. But for me, it's a tie. And also, music guy is a patron; he supports the show. Jimmy, as far as I know, Jimmy doesn't support the show.
Okay, last two questions. Oh, by the way, Mia is saying Ali Rizvi isn't a boomer; he's Gen X. Yeah, Mia, but still, it's just let me be a boomer. Of course, I'm Gen X. We're the greatest generation.
Oh yeah, Jimmy is a patron. Sorry. Okay, Jimmy is a tie, definitely. Oh, just say of course, yeah, and yes, I'm a patron. Okay, Jimmy is a patron. Okay.
Yeah, you're having to choose. Okay.
Oh, mix
Okay,
it.
this is
Mix it. I was gonna say mix it hard, but then they're both gay and they might get a different impression, so I'm not gonna say it.
so there's a lot of comments here. But I think do you have any more questions, Armin? Or are we good?
No, we're good. We're good.
We're good. Okay, guys. If you liked what you hear, if you enjoyed this, please do consider going to patreon.com/sjme and becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month. And you can do that and you will get 5 to 6 live streams every month. You'll get to watch us, our beautiful faces on video. You're going to be able to ask your questions live and have them addressed. And as you saw today, if you are a patron and, if you can't make it live, you can go to the Patreon page. You can put your questions there and we will prioritize that. We'll answer them first. If you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube, please like the video. It's a thumbs up thing underneath.
Oh, wait. Monthly monthly recommendations.
Yeah, we're going to do that. I'll just finish this. Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you're notified anytime we have more videos like this. So, this is great. Anyway, we'll finish Susanna saying monthly recommendations. Go first.
Wait a second. First of all, Jimmy, if you cancel your Patreon, then it's definitely going to be Music Guy. Okay. So first of all, and also, guys, can you please become patrons? So if Jimmy decides to cancel his patronage, we get some. Jimmy, don't do that. Stay a patron. Okay.
We're gonna get you. Yeah, you have to come back on the show either way. So Armin, monthly recommendation.
Oh, so Jimmy is great. His biceps are bigger than Music Guy. Okay, so my recommendation, guys. This is okay. I used to recommend to everybody Wandrium, okay, because that's where I have given up on books. Books are good, but they're nothing compared to Wandrium. Okay, I still read some books because they don't have everything covered. But they almost have everything covered. And now I'm going to show you the course that just came out on Wandrium, and I can't wait to finish the current course that I'm taking so I could jump on this one. Okay. Look at the course. And guys, there's a link. I used to recommend this without having an affiliate link, but now I have an affiliate link and the link is in the description. It helps Atheist Republic. So check out Wandrium. Look at this course that they just came out with. Okay. Just look at this. Okay. Hold on. Give me a second. Look at this. Ali, look at this course. Okay. I can't wait to get it. This is the course that Wandrium just came out with just last month. Okay. And it's called the Middle East in the 20th Century. Guys, the affiliate link that you have in the description of this video, you could try Wandrium for 1 month for free, and then you could keep it if you like it, okay? And there's so many other courses on philosophy, on science, on history, on religion, if you want to learn about Hinduism, on so much history, okay, on Christianity, on Islam. I took the Quran course, and I thought it's going to be basic, and I thought I'm going to know everything. It's a Quran course. But my mind was blown about how amazing the Quran course was. It was very nuanced, and I learned a whole bunch of things. But this course just came out. It's called and look at the lectures. This is the Middle East in the 20th century, and it starts with the constitutional revolts in Persia and Turkey. It goes all the way. Oh my God, look at this! All the stuff we were talking about, the House of Wahhab and House of Saud, European anti-Semitism and Israel's birth. Oh my God, look at this. Nasser and how it transferred Egypt. Guys, this is a course. You could take this course for free if you use that affiliate link and then not continue with your payment if you don't like it. But if you actually look at their courses, there are so many good courses. Lebanon Civil War, like it goes through how 1979 transformed Iran, Egypt, and Iraq, and it goes all the way to the Arab Spring. Okay, so it starts from the 1900s, all the last 100 years. Guys, this is a very good course. But again, they have everything, okay? They have philosophy, history. And again, so the reason why I like Wandrium is because these are always, the teacher is like not just a university professor, but it's a university professor that has gotten awards and is very good at teaching, right? So imagine this is better than university. There are some courses here I take that I also took in university, but this is better because if you go to university, you don't get to pick the best lecturer in the world. You don't get to pick a professor. You only get to pick a professor that your time schedule meets with them, and only the professors that are limited to that university. But if you go on Wandrium, you have university professors teaching you courses, and they're the best on the goddamn planet, and they know their stuff. And unlike books, they're very objective. They give you all the sides, right? And trying to sell you an agenda. Okay. So this is why these university lectures are more valuable than many books that I'm reading. Okay. So again, link in the description. Check out their courses. Atheist Republic's affiliate. So that's my recommendation for. Thank you.
Okay. My recommendation, first of all, Squid Game. I think everybody who hasn't seen it, you should watch it. It's a great show. Squid Game. Like I loved it. I thought it was awesome. There's a lot of layers to it. It's just fantastic. And don't watch it with the dubbing, with the English dubbing. Watch it with subtitles, so you keep the original thing. I mean, it's very well acted and very well performed. The second thing I would say, we talked about this earlier. There's a lot of talk about Dave Chappelle right now. I've been kind of watching and listening to Dave Chappelle for 20 years now. Yes, boomer, right? There's I really recommend go and watch his 2000 special, Killing. I think it's called Killing Us Softly or Killing Him Softly, and then the second special from 2004, which is called For What It's Worth. Like those two, it'll really give you a good idea. And the third thing I would say is watch My Next Guest with David Letterman, the Dave Chappelle interview, which was done last year, and that'll really good. He talks about his religion. He talks about comedy. He talks about a whole bunch of things. And obviously, he's universally loved by everyone. So, I think it's kind of good that he's blown up the way he has, because he's just one of the most phenomenal comedians and one of the smartest comedians possibly of all time, along with Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, Woody Allen, some of these other guys. So, and Bill Cosby. Well, his comedy was good. What are you going to do?
Jimmy's saying definitely going to check Wondrium now. Okay, make sure you use the affiliate link, guys. Even if you use the free trial and then don't pay for it later, Atheist Republic still gets something, which is amazing. Okay, so make sure you use the affiliate link. The link is in the description. And also, Mirja is saying recommendation. Mirja, where have you been? We just give you the recommendation. Mine was Wondrium. And
mine was Squid Game and previous Dave Chappelle specials.
Yes. Also, Squid Game, guys. A lot of people saying Squid Game shows how bad capitalism is. No, I keep telling people that just with a few good regulations, all the problems that people were dealing with in that movie could be addressed. Okay, if you have good bankruptcy laws, okay, that means that anybody who's suffering from massive debt, if you have straightforward and easy bankruptcy laws, they could recover from that and they could start fresh without having to have all the debt collectors behind them. So you don't need to get rid of capitalism to fix a situation like that. You just need good bankruptcy laws, and you need something like I don't know, good social safety nets or UBI or negative tax to address people not being able to afford basic life necessities like food or it's good social safety nets and good bankruptcy laws will address all of the problems that the people in the shows were dealing with. You don't need to break the whole system. You don't need to get rid of capitalism. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, this whole thing. We already have a system. We found out what works. It's capitalistic systems with great social safety nets. That's it. I mean, we have that. We have that all over. Different. We've got Democrat social states that work really well. We've got places like Canada that work beautifully. We got places like the U.S. that work. All of these places have a few glitches, but it works. This whole thing about capitalism versus socialism and all that, it's a false 80s mindset, dichotomy. It's a boomer mindset. I mean, that's not the way things are. We have figured this out. We know it now. Yes. So anyway, on that note,
data.
We have figured everything out. And on that note,
like the video, guys. Like the videos. Rub the like button. Rub it. Make it wet. All right.
Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week. And happy November. Happy beginning of November. So good luck.
Guys.
And bye. Be best. #.
Be best.